Hey guys, welcome today to today's video. Today's topic is covered right from my book, Project Management Communication Tools. Thanks for joining me. Hey guys, welcome. One of the things I wanted to cover today is a question I get a ton, is the top communication tools. So what tools should you use on your projects? This comes up a lot and I'm always getting asked this question. So what I thought I'd do is show you some of my favorite tools. First and probably foremost, one of the most important tools I like to use is the organizational chart. Now, again, this could be political suicide in some projects, but in a lot of projects you can actually use it, and basically what you're seeing is you're seeing the VP of the project management of projects on the top, you're seeing the project manager, and you're seeing the various roles on the project. And I love this because it really kind of sets a foundation. A ton of people say, hey, what projects do we have, or who are the people on the projects? And this org chart is going to give you a great view of that. I strongly suggest you use pictures where possible. That just adds a little bit more style, a little bit where people can see the pictures, they can see themselves, they can see where they roll, or where the roles are and where they land. And I think it's a critical tool and highly suggest you use on your projects. So definitely get a project org chart set up. The next tool is the Circle of Communications chart, right? This is a brand new tool that Bruce and I created when we wrote our book, The Project Management Communication Tools. You've got the project manager in the dead center. You've got all the various roles around the project. It basically just means that here are all the people that we're going to communicate to. This is really the who on the project. And I love this because it's really simple, it's easy to consume, and it's really a great chart to really help you set up and understand who you communicate to on the project. So Circle of Communications chart, highly recommend getting that set up. Just takes seconds. You can see in the dead center, the project manager is the person that's responsible for all communications. We've seen that before, we absolutely love that. So I'd highly recommend that as well, and getting that set up. So you can use the org chart, or you can use the Circle of Communications. Both of them really, you're driving from a communication perspective, so I highly recommend it. The next tool is the Communication Requirements Matrix. And I love this tool because what you're seeing in this tool is you're seeing the various roles on the project, and it's the intersection cells. So in the intersection cells, you really talk about what information the particular roles need. So in this particular case, a project manager is going to send a project status to the stakeholder. So what I love about that is sitting down, having the conversation with your customers, and really driving through what do they need on the project. Once they tell you that, and you start delivering that, how great of an experience will that be from a communication perspective? So I highly recommend you get that set up and get that going. Communication Requirements Matrix, again, we document in our book, Project Management Communication Tools, but it's a great tool, easy setup. The next tool is called the Role Report Matrix, and I absolutely love that tool as well because this is the timing, right? This really drives the timing around who gets what report and when. And so as you can see, Mark Taylor gets an on-demand report, gets a weekly report. Again, the Role Report Matrix is a really simple, really easy tool to set up and get established, but it really documents when people are getting the particular reports. And I love this tool because really simple to create, simple to use, throw it up on your wall, and you can see very quickly who's getting what. Why it's so great is you're not searching through your sent file. You're not searching through distribution lists and know who's on it and who's not on it. This gives you at a glance a view of what reports are to produce. The next tool is the project calendar. I love the calendar because it really sets the rhythm of the project, right? What do we do on Mondays? What do we do on Wednesdays? What do we do on Fridays? Hey, you got to do a monthly report, right? And so a project calendar really drives through exactly how the execution of the project is going to go, right? Monday we do this, Tuesday we do this, Friday we do this, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Establishing that rhythm and creating that rhythm is really a critical component of driving a successful project and driving your communications. It sets expectations with the team members, it sets expectations with the project with the customers, and you as a project manager, you drive that rhythm. Can't stress enough how important that is. The same thing with that calendar is a report generation calendar. So what you're doing here is you're saying, hey, in the communication requirements matrix, we asked for this report or that report. What you're doing here is you're building a calendar of the various days you're going to build the report. So I love this, right? Because it sets expectations. On Mondays, we have to do this report. On Tuesdays, we do that. Oh, there's a bi-weekly report. Well, let's do that on Wednesdays, right? Whatever the case may be, but a report generation calendar really helps the team understand when you're going to build reports. And so I absolutely love that, and I really think that's a critical component and a critical part of managing a project is really understanding not only the rhythm of meetings, but the rhythm of reports as well, and kind of merging those two. You have to have a WBS, right? When you think about a communication tool, you have to have a work breakdown structure. And so one of the top communication tools I think every project manager needs is a work breakdown structure, right? What's the scope of the project, and how does that scope of that project get impacted when we make changes? And so only having a work breakdown structure is going to give you that graphical view of the scope of your project, right? If it's not on the WBS and you don't see it on that chart, then it's not in the scope. Now you can do change requests and you can add scope and delete scope, we get all that, but it's got to be reflected in the work breakdown structure. Can't stress enough how important that is. Are you guys using those? Yeah, I'm sure you are. If not, definitely get out there and check them out. The next tool is called the scatter chart, and I love this chart, right? Again, you're seeing various, right, CPI versus SPI, so behind schedule, under budget, right? I'll just show you really quickly that graph there. But a scatter chart really tells you how well you're tracking, especially if you're using the earned value calculations. But a scatter chart really tells you how well you're tracking on your project. And so using a chart like that is a really good communication tool, one I strongly suggest you set up, and one you get into the rhythm of that calendar and start producing for your projects. So I consider that one of my top communication tools as well. A project newsletter. A lot of people hate newsletters. I absolutely love them, because when I think about a project newsletter, I really think about the value that it brings, right? It brings both fun and kind of, hey, where are we at with a project perspective? And are we read? What's our scope? What are our issues? What are our budget? But it also brings a fun side, a social side, right? You got a little fun graphic there. But again, you can mix and match your status or your newsletters to really bring both the serious and the fun side of things. And it's a great communication tool, and I highly recommend getting it set up. And I suggest you should get that set up as well. It's one of the top communication tools and the one you should set up for your projects, right? The next tool is one, again, I think it's critical. It's your risk log, right? How does a project manager run a project without a risk log, right? There's lots of templates, there's lots of things out there from a risk log perspective, but you gotta get a risk log set up. You've gotta get that foundation. How you tracking risks, how you managing risks on your project, it's really a critical component, and I strongly suggest you get that set up as well. A risk matrix. So once you have the risk log set up, one of the top communication tools I believe you should use is a risk matrix, right? You take the goodness that you just put in that log and put them in the red, yellow, right? You put them in the impact versus probability. Imagine how powerful that graphic is that you're seeing there on a status report or working with your customer. Risk matrix is an easy tool to create, simple to bang out, and then you apply it to your risk log. But every project manager needs to create a risk matrix to really help drive the risks of the project and really at a glance understand how risky is this project. And that's key, and that's a critical communication tool I think you all need to use. And of course, there's also that expected monetary value. So if you've got risks and they're important enough to have budget around it, then create this risk matrix tool from an expected. What are the costs? What are the dollars that you need to put aside in case those risks occur, right? And so I think that's really, really critical. You've got these risks, there's money associated to that. This risk matrix will really help you drive that and really give you that money and that contingency if those risks occur. So I think they work side by side, and I think they're both really critical and something you have to set up. And then of course issues, right? And we gotta have issues. Issues are things that occur, they're occurring, right? And so you got to have a log, you got to have a tracking, you got to bring visibility. If issues are occurring and they're impacting the project and hey, we're in the middle of these issues, we got to get these solved. You got to have a centralized repository. You got to have a place for them to go. It doesn't matter what you put in your risk log. You can have any columns that you want. Get a risk log, get it in a centralized repository, and get that set up for you to really be successful at tackling these issues and preventing any further problems on your project. So you got to have that. It's a top communication tool. It's a tool I set up in every project, and I strongly suggest you set up as well. And then of course you have to have an action log, right? And so a lot of people forget about this, but there's action items that occur every meeting. And there's action items that you got to really get set up and make sure that you're tracking. And so from one meeting to the next, you're going to have a series of actions, and as a project manager, you need to drive that action log. So I highly recommend you get the action log set up, get in a centralized SharePoint, centralized repository, and then really drive the actions of your project. So it's really critical. It's a top communication tool. It's in the DNA of a project manager. So definitely get that set up and established. So those are my tools. Those are the communication tools I highly recommend. Top communication tools. Definitely let me know what you think. Like, comment below. Let me know what tools I'm missing. Please hit the bell and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all again, and I'll see you online. Thanks.